If you're looking for a way to delete a collection account from your credit report, I'm going to tell you our favorite way to do that. It's fast, it's easy, and if you do it right, it can even be free. My name is Michael Waslick. I'm one of the lawyers at Ricardo & Waslick, a law firm here in Florida, and together with my partner Jason Ricardo, when debt collectors give you hell, we help you give it back. Today, we're going to be talking about collection accounts on your credit report and the things you can do to remove them. It's fast, it's easy, it's free, and unlike some of the things a lot of these gurus online are telling you, there's a way to do it that's 100% legal. I'm going to walk you through the steps of our favorite method, how you can use them, and the two specific decisions that you need to make in order to pick the best possible strategy for your desired outcome. Step one of this method is to go pull your credit reports. You can go to annualcreditreport.com, get all three of your original credit reports directly from the bureaus. If you're not sure how to do this, we've got a whole video on how to do it. I'm going to put a link in the description below. Once you get your credit reports, I want you to look at them and find each collection account that you think might be a problem for you. Those are accounts that are put in your credit report by debt collectors, not original creditors, by debt collectors only. For each account a debt collector has put in your credit report, I want you to look at all three reports and look at all the information on those three reports and make sure that they're consistent. Now I'm going to show you some examples of what you should be looking at. One of the first things you should look at is the balance. Check each report for this account and see how the debt collector is reporting the balance across all three accounts. They should be the same. If they're not, the debt collector is likely submitting a false report to one or more of the credit bureaus, and I want you to make a note of that so we can use that later. Now, in this example on screen, you're going to see the balance for this particular account is $4,100. You'll want to look at TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax and see if that balance that's reporting on the one matches all of the others. If it doesn't, write that down. We're going to save that for the next step. Here's another example of something you should look at, the date of last payment. If that date of last payment is not consistent across all three reports, or if it's missing, which it sometimes is, you'll want to make a note of that as well. In this case, the example on screen, the date of last payment is missing, and that's a problem because that makes the account incomplete. So if this is not consistent across all three reports, or if it's missing somewhere, write that down. Again, we're going to use that for the next step. Now, the next thing I want you to look at is the removal date or the date of first delinquency. In the example I'm putting on screen now, I'm going to show you how those are reported. Now, only Equifax reports the date of first delinquency. The other two bureaus will report an estimated removal date, or the date that the item will be removed from your report. Let's take that step by step. So in this case, in the example I've got on screen, Equifax is reporting a date of first delinquency of October 2018. So that would be the first date at which the borrower missed a payment and never caught up. Now, why is this date important? Because it is the trigger date for the 7-year removal from your credit report, because a negative item on your credit report must come off after 7 years. If the date of first removal is wrong or it's absent, there's no way for the credit bureau to know when the item has to come off. They must know this information, and if they have this information, they must report it to you in some way. Now, Equifax reports specifically the date of first delinquency. Again, we're looking here at October of 2018. So what does that mean? That means that this account should be removed from all three reports 7 years from October of 2018. In this case, that would be October of 2025. But look at how the other two bureaus are reporting this information. Here we show that Experian is reporting a removal date of July of 2025. That means they believe that the date of first delinquency is sometime in July of 2018 because that's the 7-year calculation. But that doesn't line up with the first report we looked at. Well, now let's take a look at the third one. Here, TransUnion is reporting an estimated removal date of September of 2025, meaning they believe the date of first delinquency was September of 2018. So what do we have? We have one bureau thinking the date of first delinquency is October of 2018. We have another bureau thinking it's July of 2018. And we have a third bureau thinking that it is September of 2018. Obviously, at least one of those is wrong, and possibly all three. All three reports should be based on the same information. If they're not the same, something is wrong, and that means the debt collector is giving inconsistent information to the three bureaus. Or the bureaus are taking the information from the debt collector and they are misreporting it. Either way, there's a problem. So when you find inconsistencies like this, again, write them down. We're going to take those to the next step. Now, when you look at your credit report and you find information that is either incomplete or inconsistent across the three reports, you've probably found yourself a violation by the debt collector who's reporting that data. It's also possible that the credit bureaus themselves are misreporting data that they've received from the debt collector. And now it's time for you to make two critical decisions. Would you rather have more speed or more money? And second, do you want to pay for the cost of the lawsuit and do it yourself? Or do you want to get help for free? So here's what to think about when making those two decisions. First of all, speed versus money. Now, you know, if you have a time critical situation, if there's a reason that this one collection on your report needs to come off fast because you have some kind of time sensitive goal. Now, no matter which route you choose, this is probably going to take at least a few months, possibly more. But if you're in a hurry, then you probably want to take this debt collection violation you've already found and go straight to court against the debt collector. But what if it's a larger debt? Let's say you need to find a larger violation in order to offset any debt and possibly even make money on your own. Well, then you're going to want to take this second route. Instead of going straight to court against the debt collector, you're going to want to take the time to send disputes to each of the credit bureaus. And you'll want to identify either the incomplete information, or if there's inconsistent information across your three reports, simply tell them that you found information in that report that's not correct. You'll want to tell them which item is not correct. I wouldn't recommend telling them specifically what other reports are saying. It's enough to tell them that they're not consistent and one or more of them must be wrong. That's why you're asking them to investigate. There are two reasons this might improve the value of your case. First, if the credit bureaus are the ones making the mistake and they refuse to investigate and fix the mistake, then they are also liable under federal law. Instead of just going after the debt collector for their violations, you've now got 4 potential targets for a lawsuit if they've broken the law, and each of them may owe you money for their own violations. So you've just quadrupled the value of your potential claim. Second, if you dispute with the bureaus and they consistently, repeatedly refuse to fix errors, and you send them letter after letter after letter, that shows a pattern of deliberate indifference to your rights and deliberate violations on their part. If they show a pattern of disregarding your rights, that's going to expose them to more liability than merely making a mistake. So that also will improve the value of your case. And if you've got a collection account that's larger than 10 grand or so, you'll probably want to maximize the value of your case. So that's speed versus money. Now, the second decision you need to make is if you want to do it yourself and pay your own litigation costs, or do you want to get help from a professional who's going to advance those costs for you so that you don't have to pay anything up front. And here are some of the factors you want to think about in making those decisions. First of all, are you able to successfully draft a complaint, go to court, represent yourself in court, and win? If you've got experience doing that, you might be the right person to do that. You will have to pay your own costs and court fees up front, things like filing fees, things like process server fees. Now, you will be able to claim those at the back end, but you're going to have to put them out up front. So if you are completely comfortable doing that for yourself and you can fund your own litigation, then do it yourself is a viable option. But for most people, you're going to want to pick option 2, and that's to get a lawyer to help you out with any of these claims. Now, whether you're just suing the debt collector or whether you've maximized the value of your case and you're suing 4 different defendants, the debt collector and the 3 bureaus, you're going to be able to get help from a lawyer if you have a valid case. That lawyer will do a couple things for you. Number one, they're going to typically advance the filing fees and the cost of litigation. And number 2, they're going to handle this case in a way that makes sure you get the maximum dollar value out of it at the end. So for most people, if you can find a lawyer who's willing to take your case, typically it's going to be cheaper and easier for you, and it's going to maximize your dollar value at the end of the day. So for most people, that's probably going to be the better option. Now, before I go to step 3, I want to tell you that if you're in Florida and you think you have a case that you might want help with, go ahead and hit the phone number in the description below, and we can set up an appointment to talk to you and evaluate your case. Now let's talk about the third step. You're going to want to resolve that case in one of 2 ways. One is by settlement, and the other is by going all the way through a final hearing and hopefully getting the result you're asking for. Here are the type of things that we would look for in any kind of resolution. The first thing you'll ask for is a mutual release. What this means is the parties agree to walk away from each other and release all claims they might have against each other. And that means if the debt collector owns your debt, they are agreeing to release you from the debt. At the same time, you're agreeing to release them from any other claims you might have for violations they've made. Number 2 is they're going to pay you some amount of damages for the violations that they caused. If your debt is small enough and the violations are large enough, this could mean thousands of dollars in your pocket. But if the debt is large and the violations are small, it might mean they're willing to pay you a lot less money or maybe even nothing at all beyond releasing you from the debt. The third thing you'll probably ask for, if you've had a lawyer help you out, that lawyer is free to you because the other side is going to pay all the attorney's fees and the cost of litigation. Now, if you've handled the case yourself, you won't qualify for attorney's fees, but what you will qualify for is reimbursement of any costs that you paid for filing a litigation, for having a process server serve it, and so on. And the fourth thing you want to ask for, this is the one you probably came to this video for, is a deletion of the trade line. What that means is that the debt collector is going to agree to remove that negative account from your report entirely. And if they've agreed to that mutual release, there's no debt left for them to even be reporting. So they should be deleting that trade line entirely. And there's one more step that you guys should be aware of, because not every collection appears on your credit report. Sometimes you have to go just after the debt collector, but you can't do that step one that I talked about where you compare the different credit reports. Sometimes you just have to look at what violations the debt collector is committing outside of credit reporting, just in the way they communicate with you or in the way they treat you in court. And so if you've got that situation where you have a debt collector that's not reporting your credit report and you want to hold them responsible, you want to wipe out that debt, and you want to even put a little bit of money in your pocket, I want you to watch the video I'm putting on screen now, because it's going to take you through the steps you'll need to take in order to identify violations and to hold your debt collector accountable for the ways in which they break the law. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.